Hey guys, Brady here. You know how in the 80s, 90s we got like really cool kick-ass action movies, whether they were cheesy or not, whether they were movies like Indiana Jones or Die Hard. Every single Within every single Die Hard and Indiana Jones, we got Commando, Red Heat, Cobra, um, another cheesy Van Damme movie. So, the point of this video is to just talk about action movies that came out from the year 2000 all the way up until today. With the release of Jack Reacher 2 coming out, that getting mixed reviews, I thought I'd talk about some of the good action movies that came out in this century and some of the bad action movies that came out in this century. So this is going to be a mixed video of good and bad action movies from this generation, the 2000s. So without any further ado, well, some of these are sci-fi, but you know what? This is a sci-fi film, but it's Inception. But yeah. Then we have movies like The Sixth Day, which was terrible. Day After Tomorrow, which is a disaster movie like the 90s era with movies like Titanic, Volcano, Dante's Peak, Armageddon. Salt, Battle Los Angeles, this is a cheesy action movie. Shooter, Chappie, which I think is very, very underrated. San Andreas, Fast and Furious 6, Edge of Tomorrow, the Italian Job remake. Now, some of these are sequels to movies that came out in the 80s and 90s. I'm counting those two, because they're still millennial action movies. Elysium, Transformers, a guilty pleasure to some. Some people really like the original Transformers. And this is not going to include superhero movies, so Marvel and DC are X'd out. Book of Eli, Minority Report, District 9. I'm only adding like some sci-fi movies that have an action type element. So that means I should probably add the new Star Trek, but whatever, no. We're getting to the Cobra type of action movies like Brick Mansions, Olympus Has Fallen, which is an excellent throwback to 80s action movies like Die Hard, Kingsman: The Secret Service, The Last Stand, another great throwback to the 80s era of action movies. Taken, really good action movie. It's not like the next Mission Impossible 5, but the Bourne trilogy, and pretty soon, in 2 months or probably a month, is the release of Bourne 5. So I'm gonna get Bourne 5 when it's released to Blu-ray in December. Can't wait. Bad Boys 2. I know. Mission Impossible 2. Mission Impossible 3. The Fast and the Furious. Too Fast, Too Furious. The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, my least favorite in this series. Fast and Furious, Fast 5, and Furious 7. Contagion. G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. The Perfect Storm. And you guys are going to hate me for this, but I said we are including cheesy action movies, whether they're crappy or not. Whether they're a sequel to a movie that came out in the 80s and 90s or not. But I am going to put Alan Taylor's second time directing a big budget action movie, Terminator Genesis. say what you want about this movie, but this is a guilty pleasure. One of my many guilty pleasures. I love Terminator Genesis. It's not a good movie, but I found enjoyment out of it for some reason. Like, I cannot get enough of how cheesy this movie is. I just love watching the cheese. Just the cheesiness of the movie is what I enjoy. It's not great or anything. It's terrible, but I just love the cheesiness, the cheese factor of this movie. Don't kill me. And then, of course, we get movies like White House Down, Night and Day, Machete, Transporter 2, and Transporter, The Transporter. Why is that whenever there's a movie and there's a "the" in the title, whenever they make the sequel, they just take out the "the"? What's the point of taking out the "the"? The Transporter, Transporter 2, I don't know. The Exorcist 2, The Heterect, or I don't know. Why do they always take out the word "the" in the title? Like, is the really cramping the title style? Nostalgia Critic reference, I know. And then, of course, we have what's a millennial action movie list without showing Michael Bay movies like Transformers 2, Transformers 3, Transformers 4. Sorry, he made it big in the 2000s with action movies like that. Terminator Salvation, I know. G.I. Joe Retaliation, I know. We're getting in the mediocre pile of action movies. 2012, a throwback to 1990s cheesy disaster movies, which 1990s did a throwback to 70s disaster movies. And then, of course, yeah, you saw that. You know what's on top. Then we get real balls to the walls type of action movies like Wanted and movies like I haven't seen Bullet to the Head, but I've heard Bullet to the Head is like similar to this movie. Mad Max Fury Road, a fantastic looking Blu-ray. One of my favorite movies of last year. The Island, very underrated movie from 2005. Why is this movie at 40% and not Revenge of the Sith? Oh, probably because it's a Star Wars movie. But The Island is really fun. It's a fun movie. It's a little bit long. It's 2 hours and 16 minutes. But if you love Michael Bay, if you love Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson, you're gonna love this movie. And Scarlett Johansson looks stunning as ever in this movie. I think this is the best she's ever looked in a movie. So, yeah. Actually, no, the best she's ever looked in a movie was SpongeBob the movie. Moving on. Man on Fire, Taken 2, and Taken 3, or Take 3 in as Chris Duckman calls it. We're almost done. Don't worry. The only James Bond movie you're going to see in this video, Spectre, which I think is very underrated. Why is it at 64%? I don't know. I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. You know, no, I didn't put Troy in here. I'm not going to put that in there. Collateral, that was 300, by the way. Collateral. Source Code. iRobot. And This Means War. Now, if you notice, most of these movies have the same actors in them. Whether it's Dwayne Johnson, Tom Cruise. Oh wait, I guess I still got more. Battleship, Mission Impossible 4, and Mission Impossible 5. Whether it's Tom Cruise, Dwayne Johnson, hell, even Tom Hardy, Matt Damon, all these people, Mark Wahlberg, all these people are like this generation's um, Sylvester Stallone, Jean Claude Van Damme, um, Dolph Lundgren, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis. Um, yeah, like Mark Mark Wahlberg and Tom Cruise. These are like our generation action heroes. Just like how what I just named just a few moments ago. Those are our parents' generation action heroes, or I guess you could say our cousins who were born in the '80s. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about action movies from this generation and somewhat compare the actors in the movies to actors back in the '80s and '90s. Because in the '80s and '90s we got some really fun, cheesy action movies, and we are still getting really fun, cheesy action movies in 2016. Um, they're not as actually no, they're on par with '80s action movies. Like I love '80s action movies. I love this generation's action movies. Um, I like '80s action movies because they use practical effects, but I also like the action movies of today because they look nice. I like the way they're shot. Um, but and plus when you're watching an action movie from the '80s, this, for example, this movie, the punching sound effects in this movie bother the hell out of me. You could tell they're doing that slapping the watermelon trick in the background of every punch. That is how noticeable the punching sound effect is in this movie. It is terrible. And also, you can't really blame the sound effects department, but in Batman, the cheesy gunshots in that movie. You know the boom. You know where it sounds like that. It just sounded really gay for making that sound. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that sounded weird coming out of my mouth. But I'm talking about like the cheesy gangster movies kind of shot. Well, not really gangster. Fucking Joker was a bit of a gangster in Batman 1989 with the way he was carrying guns around. He was a mob boss. It seemed like, I don't know.